Good afternoon. How are you? Well, as you can see, Thomas Jefferson has recorded today that we have snow. It's probably about 6 or 7 inches. Drifts are more, and the humidity is 90-something%. And I dread the sub-zero freeze that could happen tonight, especially if it rains, but that's the way it is out here. We've cleared the paths, freed the cars, and I'm now walking on our dirt road covered in snow. As you can see all around, it's snow. This is great. Now, so what's in the news? I don't know why, but just the instant I said that, frost came into my mind, whether the world is going to end in ice or fire. And he chose fire, likely, although he knows enough about ice that it could be that as well. Frost was true humorist, a naturalist, and a lost treasure, but you can still read his poetry. So we're kind of walking through the woods, and we will see deer, especially when the snow's out. We won't hear birds, and we'll have to be careful that we don't end up on our keister because of the roads have been slightly cleared, but they're a little slick. So, what's on my mind? I've gotten a lot of notes from people and conversations as well. And it's about, are we lost? Do we have no place to turn? Because those we would suspect to lead us are folding, diminishing the craven appetite of Trump for power and abuse and discrimination and hate. And so many of us feel, at the least, disappointed in a leadership that once knew how to fight, because that's how you get your job the first time. You have to want it. You have to have a fire in the belly to want to be elected because of what it takes. And when I ran for Congress a million years ago, the congressman who was briefing us said that running for office is much more like a sporting event in a suit, meaning that you're running almost literally from event to event, speaking about what your vision is, hopefully you have one, what your accomplishments were, and what you will do going forward. But we see that people run for office and there are 4 or 5 issues they care about. And when they get there, they then have to deal with 20 or 25. And the first 4 they can't handle because they're not on that committee of jurisdiction, or they're in the minority and they kind of lose their way and they don't know what to do. So they run again. And they get further and further distant, the worst of them, from why they originally ran. And pretty soon it's a calculation. What do I need to tell the voters to continue in office, even though I know I won't be able to accomplish that? Pretending to know things that they don't know, to understand matters they have no conception of. And so as a result, that person, and the Republican Party is rich with them, but the Democratic Party has them too, that causes, when a crisis arises, to do what especially legislators do. Don't make any decision or act until the last possible moment that you have to act. And if you never have to act, then don't. Now that's a prescription for failure when our democracy is under siege. When Trump says whatever comes into that vacuous head of his, an abyss of evil, that he just says what comes to his mind, whether or not he intends to do it. And he watches Democrats scramble. Oh my God, we have too much empathy and not enough warrior, not enough fight. And I don't know how we lost it, because when I was a kid, we had examples of it. Even Eisenhower, we were tutored how he may have won the entire war with his oversight of the D-Day invasion. The fact that he did that seems to blend into the distance as compared to him being president of Columbia University, a holding position until he could run for president. We have had people at his time and since who've been heroes to America, who have imparted as an example by their conduct what it means to contribute to a community. But we have so many Republicans who have no time for that. They give us the language, but not the performance, because the performance is hard work. But there's a thing, and you see it among the best who lead, there's a thing about doing what's right that gives more energy. A person who's a warrior, well, they just work and work. They don't feel the time, they don't feel the pain, they don't feel the hurt, because their objective is rich. Where are those people now? Hiding in corners, trying to figure out how they can sustain their own succession rather than serve us? What could they do that's different? Well, they could have spoken up today outside the chambers, if not in the chambers, when our vice presidential candidate, our vice presidential office holder, Harris, recognized the vote with Trump winning the Electoral College. We could have said things then. We should have said enormous things about how this is a great historical failure in American history, that a person who sought to overthrow our government has been chosen by the Electoral College, proving its worthlessness, to lead us again despite what he did. It's also wrong. And what could we do now? Well, you wonder if a senator like Warren or others that have backbone would get up and say, under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, when you break your oath of office, you win the opportunity to be barred from holding any public office after that. If there was a time to do it, it's now, before he takes the oath of office. And some say, well, it won't work. Well, the things that don't work certainly don't work if you never try them. I often tell people when they're at a crossroads, sort of like Frost, where they came upon a point in the road where there are two paths. Well, and this definitely would be the path least taken. And it would be to challenge Trump from being president for the fact that he's violated Article 14, Section 3, that says he's barred from office for his misconduct in the insurrection. It's true that we had an impeachment proceeding, but this is different. I posted something years ago about this subject, and all you heard was crickets, because somebody'd have to put their chin out there, have somebody unearth some embarrassment, or just be threatened that their child or husband would be hurt. The mob mentality that occupies almost all of the moves by Trump is a cancer like nothing John Dean ever saw in Watergate. So we should have members stand up and say he should not be president. And what if we lose it? It is a fight. You don't win every fight. My partner, I'm not saying he adopts all my views, he may. We have this notion of the momentum of litigation, which is if you make a motion that's credible, passes the laugh test, is important, should be granted, then you do it. And you do it because you're not compromising other arguments, because even a judge in opposition will acknowledge that it was a solid issue to raise, even if not to win. That's very different than who is the head of the free world, ever reducing freedoms in our own world, in our own nation. So, I'm going to continue to slog away out here in the frozen woods, and bid adieu to the absent Robert Frost, and to Thomas Jefferson, who besides weather would wonder why modern politicians are not invoking the tools he and others gave to this nation between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the methods of dealing with conflict between the departments and the intra-departments. So, with that, I say goodbye to you for today. I don't know what it'll be like tomorrow. And in the icy, cold, fired cathedral of trees all around me. All the best. Bye-bye.